Hi guys, Master Investor is live. Our second episode because the first one was such a major hit. And let's dive into it. Let me first share on Twitter that the show has started, and then I will dive into the portfolios and give you my opinion what people should change to increase their returns. I think this is a share button. Okay. All right. That's shared. So that's shared on Twitter. So we can get started with the portfolios. On Twitter, I asked to submit your portfolios, but you can also do it here in the chat, and I will review them, your portfolio. So the way I share my portfolio is it's always important to keep things simple with everything in life. And also with your portfolio. So if you can't tell it in one sentence how your portfolio looks, well, you're not doing things right. So for me, I'm 50% in Tesla invested, 30% in Ethereum, 10% in Bitcoin Cash, and I also have 10% cash. Is that accurate about? Like it's not exactly that. For example, Bitcoin Cash is only 8%, but when I talk about my portfolio, it's 10% to keep things simple. And I hope you guys also talk in such a way and don't mention investments less than 5%, even less than 10%. You shouldn't invest them. Only when they reach 10% of your portfolio, it's worth talking about, because our time is limited. An investment that is only 5% of your portfolio won't make much of a difference anyway, unless you use huge leverage, but in that case you're going to be wiped out quickly also. So yes, you can make huge gains there, but the odds are very high actually you'll be wiped out and you lose your 5%. But so that's my portfolio. But why should you listen to me? That's the most important question, of course, because who cares about the opinion of Mark de Mesel? Well, I've proven in the past that I have achieved great returns, and that's very important. My returns as of today are about 40% per year compound annual growth rate since 2008, since before the financial crisis, because the financial crisis happened in 2008. So since the 1st of January of 2008, those are my returns up until today. That's a tremendous return. The question is then, of course, how did you achieve it? Did you take huge risks? And are you going to be wiped out sooner or later? Or did you always take moderate risks? That's very important when you judge the performance of a portfolio. And in my case, I never bet the farm. I have never bet the farm. The highest allocation I ever went was to crypto in 2015 to 80%. That's the highest allocation I ever went to one asset class. It was the asset class was 80%, but within that, actually half was Bitcoin Core, half was NXT. I diversified a little, but that was the maximum risk I have taken. And then the moment it bounced, because I remember very clearly, I was maybe 65% or 70%, and then it drops again deeper than I expected crypto, and then I sold again more gold for crypto. But I pledged I will buy that gold the moment I can. The moment it bounces, I buy it back, just to be safe. And so indeed, I went to 80% exposure. It bounced, and I bought it back, the gold, and I made a very nice trade on it. That also meant I need to sell some crypto, and of course I shouldn't have done that, you could say, because it 100x after that. But as an investor, you always have to invest in such a way that you take each scenario into account, because you're never sure you reach the bottom, and that bounce may just be a bounce, and you may go deeper and you may go to zero. Those are small odds, but they are there, and you have to protect yourself against that, which I have always done. I've always protected myself against the small odds that are still there, also that I'm wrong. And so that's why I think the risk that I took um, was of course, I've taken much higher risks than most people, but I would still consider them very calculated and very reasoned. So that's why my opinion is of importance. Let's take a look at the portfolios that were shared. Hi all, welcome to the live show. Welcome to the Master Investor episode 2. And you can share your portfolio, and I'm happy to give you my opinion, what you should change to increase your returns. I will start. First, I will take a look at the ones that were shared on Twitter. Let me take that in front of me. So first up, we have Dr. Parabula MD .it in the Twitter name usually means a big Ethereum investor, and indeed he's 100% invested in Ethereum, and still continuing to buy more. So before, he was actually 50% in Bitcoin Core, 40% in Ethereum, and he still had 10% other cryptocurrency, but he sold it all for Ethereum. He's now fully invested in Ethereum. But since he's like adding more like a maniac, it also shows that he doesn't have that big of a portfolio when it comes to US dollar value, because he's still buying more. So likely he's like a pretty small portfolio compared to his income. He also has an income probably, otherwise he couldn't be buying more. So in that case, I'm guessing he's a young person going all in on something he believes in. But even if he would be wrong, then he can still recover from that, because while his income is relatively high compared to his portfolio. And I think in that case, you can take such risks. I think Ethereum is one of the best risk reward investments you will find in the crypto world. But of course, I would really prepare for a very bumpy ride here, because Ethereum just went up from a low of 120 to 260 or so. So it just doubled in 1 to 2 months. And we are in the early stage of a bull market in crypto. And if you check my video, why I think crypto is still bearish, I think it's very likely we will test the bottom of 4K for Bitcoin Core, and of course, all coins will be dragged down tremendously due to that, Ethereum included. Of course, in the meantime, it can still pump a lot before that happens. That's of course the problem. But I would suggest here to take some money off the table and just put in cash and try to buy some Ethereum back cheaper. I think the odds are very high that you will be able to do that. And of course, you always have to protect against other scenarios. Of course, if you're young, it's much less important. Like, if you don't protect against any other scenarios, you're wrong, you lose it all. You can start over easily, but I'm not sure that's the case here. And of course, you do want to, if you want to become a great investor, you really need to start taking different scenarios into account. And therefore, I think you will likely increase your returns by taking some money off the table here, locking in some profits that you very likely have, and putting some cash on the side so that you can likely buy back Ethereum cheaper. If it doesn't work out, which is also possible, but a small chance, then you can still use that cash to buy other smaller coins that are unlikely to pump. Even if the total crypto market pumps, it's also unlikely that the smaller coins will pump from the start. Also, likely it will take another year before they start pumping. So you have a backup plan then to use that cash for some other cryptos later on. It also opens your mind more to other opportunities, because if you're fully invested in something, well, there's no point looking for other opportunities, because you're fully invested already. So there are some clear advantages to have a cash position today also. I hope that was helpful, Dr. Parabula, and thank you so much for all the support of my Twitter channel and YouTube channel. Let's take one from the chat. Hi all, welcome to the live show. I hope you all have a great time, and 2020 is going very well for you. So Yannick, hi, welcome. Congrats on the solid calls. Thanks so much. So his portfolio is Algo 65%, Ethereum 15%, and BCH Bitcoin Cash 5%, and he also has a cash position of 15%. I don't know Algo, so I can't comment on it. Let me check if I can find it quickly. Algo. Algorand is the position 33, has a total market cap of 230 million, and it's at position 33 of coin market cap, or I use CoinGecko. And it's been performing pretty well. For example, the last week it didn't lose anything compared to most coins lost a lot. But I don't know anything about it, so I can't judge it. But I take it you believe strongly in it. It's not a top 10 coin, so it has potential to go up more in ranking. But I really can't speak out on it. The fundamentals are super important when you invest in a smaller coin that's not famous yet. It needs to have incredibly strong fundamentals, but I can't judge them here. If they have the incredibly strong fundamentals, yes, but if they don't have it, this is not a good idea. So I can't judge it. I'm sorry. I think for the rest, very good. You have some Ethereum, some Bitcoin Cash, and also some fiat cash. I think it's all very good, but everything in your portfolio depends on Algo. So yeah, it's super important. You're right about that call, and so it needs to really pass. It needs to pass a lot of criteria for a smaller coin to have such a big position. There cannot be any red flags. If there are red flags, you cannot afford. You cannot real red flags. Of course, usually smaller projects, there are lots of red flags, but you dig deeper into them, they are false. They are not red flags. People say, oh, but this is wrong about it, or that's risky, but you dig deeper into it, that's not the case. But real red flags that are indeed questionable things happening in that currency, such as poor leadership, leadership with bad reputation, decisions made that will not be good for the adoption, things like that. If you see red flags like that, you cannot ignore them, and I hope you don't. Thanks for sharing, Yannick. Hi, Cryptomedius. Nice to see you in the show, and you also have shared your portfolio. We'll take a look. I think you did. No, you did not. I will take the next one, the next portfolio that was shared here on Twitter. D.Ileye. Thanks for following my channel such a long time. 35% Ethereum, 25% Bitcoin Core, 20% stocks, and also 20% cash. So you have 60% crypto, 20% stocks, 20% cash. I think that's very good. Some cash is very good, I think, here. I mean, the stock market has gone up quite a lot the past 2 months. It is, of course, we are in a long-term bull market, but there are some dangers on the horizon, such as just the normal correction that you have from time to time after it just went up a lot. But I think especially the coronavirus might give a little shock to the stock market. It's good to have some cash on the side. The same for the crypto. Actually, it's much more likely crypto market will correct than stock market, and have some cash on the side is super good. D.Ilaya. The stocks itself, he says it's actually two It's actually mainly a NIO. I don't know that stock, but I think that's the electrical car company from China. Let me check that. If that's the case, then I would really not invest in that, even though it has crashed a lot. There are very few winners in the market, huh? and um, and when it comes to electrical cars, if you look at the competition of Tesla, uh, but yes, that's the one. Huh? Then it's very hard. But Neo really didn't do well. Um, no, I don't think Neo is a good investment. I think you should cut your losses there and invest in something else. Um, uh, but yeah, that's my opinion about Neo. ARC ETF is is ARC ETF is an ETF from ARK Invest. ARK Invest is one of the best fund companies, but the problem with funds is that you're never going to make a killing on that. These ETFs, they have to sell down their winners constantly, and that's really a huge loss in opportunity. For example, Tesla. They are super bullish on Tesla, but their 10% position of Tesla today is still 10%, even though it tripled in value. And they've sold also like 60-70% of their shares at much lower valuations than I on the way up constantly, and that really limits the amount of money you can make with an ETF. Of course, you don't have to manage it, you don't have to look at it, and indeed you're very diversified in many opportunities. But over time, if you see an opportunity yourself in the stock market that you really think is a great opportunity, I think that's should take precedent over an ETF. But of course, much better to be in an ARK ETF than in NEO, in my opinion. So maybe you can just shift the NEO to a ARK ETF for the time being. But the big thing I think you should change in this portfolio is the Bitcoin core position of 25%. Because okay, it's super. You have the majority Ethereum, but why have Bitcoin Core in your portfolio? I think that's such a loss of opportunity. Bitcoin Core is still 60% market share of the total crypto market and is extremely likely to continue to lose market share, especially in the part of the cycle where we are now, which is the second part of the bull market. Okay, first we may see a strong correction where indeed it's better to be in Bitcoin Core because it will correct the least probably, but you really should shift that Bitcoin Core if you get a chance. If it does correct and Bitcoin Core collects less than the other ones, you should really sell all that Bitcoin Core for Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, and others, because there is really no future for Bitcoin Core. They are continue to fuck up big time. It's just comparable to a company that is the market leader, but is really not doing a great job, just like Nokia at the time, for example, in cell phone companies, or it's really that bad, huh? Or Kodak in the photographic industry, or Yahoo in the search engine space in the 90s. Clearly, a company that in the past did an amazing job and is the market leader, but today is doing a very poor job and is losing market lead constantly. And is very likely to continue. You can see that in the market very clearly today. For example, institutional investors start to invest in Ethereum today to a much higher extent than they used to do in the previous cycle. So yeah, of course you have Ethereum, but you can do so much with that 25% Bitcoin core. For example, Bitcoin Cash is a much better investment, risk-reward ratio. Okay, there's a lot of drama going on there, but it's also priced as such. It's like almost 100 times cheaper than Bitcoin Core, or maybe it's like 33 times cheaper, but very, very likely it will gain market share versus Bitcoin Core over the next 2 to 3 years a lot. But there are many other options in crypto to invest in. When you want to have great returns, you really have to say no to average investments. But especially no to bad investments. And Bitcoin Core is a bad investment. You should say no to that and free your capital for other opportunities. I hope that was of value to you, Ella. Yeah, but I'm sure you heard this many times from me, so nothing new for you. And I wish you good luck with your portfolio. Hi, all. Welcome to the live show. 36 people. Very nice to see you. Let me see if I can point a little bit more to the sky here so you can see the beautiful birds here in Africa. We have, I hear there's so many beautiful birds like eagles. You will see many of them fly by. But also the biggest birds, I don't know the name, I always forget it, but beautiful. So, let me take one from the chat here. Hi, Amadeo Brands. He says he has 30% gold and 50% crypto and 20% cash. So easy. 30% gold. It depends what you want. Is it your goal to have to make money with your portfolio or to protect your capital, to increase the value of your capital or to protect it? That's super important, of course, but since you're following my channel, I think it's increasing. You really want to make money in the markets, not just protect your money, right? And in that case, you should sell the 30% gold. It's a very big position, actually. And it is in a long-term bear market, and it just had a strong rebounds, making new highs in many fiat currencies, not in the US dollar, still around $1,500, I think. But the peak was $1,800 almost 10 years ago. It went to $1,000. Now it's back at $1,500. So it had an enormous bounce. Just like in the 80s, exactly the same happened here, but it will likely go down again a lot over the next 10 years and make new lows to, I don't know exactly where, $800, $600, something like that, or in 10 years' time. So this is the worst investment you can have in your portfolio. It's even worse than fiat on a savings account. There's not much else that will perform very likely so badly as gold. Yes, there are some, of course, commodities like sugar and wheat and silver. Yeah, they will perform even worse because they have no monetary value. But gold will do very bad, very likely. So that really needs to go out. And right now is a great time to sell it because it's bouncing, but at the same time, other markets are also inversely correlated, such as stocks. Actually, people think it's highly valid. Is not true. The stock market is only 10 years old. The bull market will take probably 30 years of stocks. We have barely been started the bull market, and so there are still many opportunities in the stock market. But crypto, of course, is also in the early stage of a bull market, and you're already busy with crypto. You're 50% invest in crypto, and you have many different coins, so you have a good view there what other opportunities are available in crypto. And I would say take those with your gold, or start to sell your gold for cash, because and prepare yourself for a serious crypto correction that may certainly happen, or a stock market correction that may certainly happen due to the coronavirus. But really prepare to invest that gold. I think that's the best advice I can give you there. I hope that was of value to you, Amadeo. Look at my videos about gold. I make a very strong case why it is very likely in a long-term bear market, and we have not seen the end of it. Very likely. I have very good videos on that. You should check them. Okay, let's take a portfolio from the Twitter. Logo Fogam, hi, nice to see you on Twitter there, and thanks for all your support. He says he has Bitcoin Cash for 20%, Ethereum for 55%, and also 25% cash. I think that's a great portfolio. That's a very good portfolio. I mean, 50% Ethereum, very high. I think that's a good choice. Half of that's Bitcoin Cash, another 20% Bitcoin Cash. I think that's the right proportion. I have the same, double as much Ethereum as Bitcoin Cash. I still have the same, but I'm planning actually to flip that up if we do get a serious correction, because I think Bitcoin Cash, its fundamentals are really improving fast here. It's clear that Maurice O'Shea will fail, very likely, in hijacking Bitcoin Cash and changing the business model into a tax system, basically, and becoming and consolidating all the power and monies to him and his friends. Very likely will fail in that, and he will fail because of the strong community that Bitcoin Cash has, and that really embraces the principles of voluntarism, and that is becoming very, very clear, and it's very bullish for the coin. So I think might be a very good idea if we do get a strong crypto correction, or if just like Bitcoin Cash and Ethereum continue to flip in value, because it was 2 Ethereum for 1 Bitcoin Cash. I thought it was a great conversion rate, so I sold a lot of Bitcoin Cash for Ethereum. But we're now going the other way around, and Ethereum is going up a lot more than Bitcoin Cash. So if this continues for a little bit more, I think it's a very good time to flip Ethereum again back to Bitcoin Cash. So that might be a good idea for you too, Logo Foga. And yeah, 25% fiat, I think, is a very good. Very good. You really have some purchasing power left if you get a serious crypto correction. Is nice. But don't underestimate the correction in crypto. People are way too bullish. It's a very, very like, people will laugh with you today that you think it will go to 4,000. It's you're mocked. People really don't think that's probable at all, but it is very probable, in my opinion. I give this like a 66% chance. And so if that happens and you're invested for 75% in crypto, logo Fogam, that will be very painful, because Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash will likely correct a lot too, especially Bitcoin Cash with its fundamentals that are still perceived as weak in the market. Many people have been selling Bitcoin Cash, and even though I think it's likely that the fundamentals are strengthening right now, I don't think the global market is looking at it that way. So these coins will correct a lot, likely, and there will be a huge loss in your net worth, in your portfolio valuation. So you do have to prepare for that. If the majority of your portfolio invest in crypto today, this is like 75% in crypto, you have to prepare mentally for a big financial loss. But that also means his fiat position is 25%, it will go up to 50%, and maybe even 60, 70%, if he doesn't do anything with the fiat, but the crypto drops through the floor. Suddenly the fiat becomes a very big part of the portfolio, and then you have a major opportunity to flip fiat into crypto. But you won't do it if you didn't expect that to come, because you're sitting on huge losses in your crypto and you're afraid to invest more. So it's very important to prepare mentally for a serious loss in your crypto portfolio. Logo Fogam, thanks for sharing. Let's take a look at the chat here. What else do we have? Can't hear you. Ooh, you can't hear me. Hello? Yes, you can hear me, right? Pump hard. Think do I have a DCR? I'm gonna read the comments quietly. You can enjoy the sound here. Huh? The sound. And when I see an interesting question, I will say it or remark. Rudolf Nana asks an interesting question about Ethereum, but I can't really go into that now. I really want to stay focused on the portfolio compositions of the people. Master investor needs to be really focused on helping people make higher returns. But the interesting part is, of course, I really did choose the wrong investment in 2015. I invest a lot in NXT. I should have invested a lot in Ethereum, and I really considered these Ethereum as well. I didn't choose it because from the start it was very hyped in the crypto market, and the value was immediately relatively high. For example, the ICO was about 30 million or so for Ethereum, but at the same time NXT was valued maybe, I don't know how much it was, 10 million. But the difference was that NXT had really usable software and Ethereum did not have any usable software. So I learned a strong lesson there that you should not just look at what software is usable. I really overdid that. You should look at the momentum of developer adoption. I really ignored that. And Ethereum was genius, Vitalik Buterin, in really inspiring people to study Ethereum and to build on top of it. And I ignored that, and I will never do that again. So that's a big lesson that I learned there. And also, of course, valuations, like actually it was 30 million. That was high at the time, but today that's nothing. It's worth 20 billion. So don't be scared of initial valuations be relatively high, because it can go a lot higher. Like I was really wrong there, not to invest in Ethereum. So Ali Khan is sharing his portfolio as 10% Tesla, 20% cash, 20% gold, silver, miners, and 50% crypto. But then he says, although I sold all my crypto last week, I'm waiting to buy cheaper. So that means that he has now 70% cash, and then 20% gold miners, and 10% Tesla. So the 10% Tesla, of course, is a good investment on sich, but it won't do much for your portfolio because it's only 10%. I think it can double, very likely, over the next few months. But what will that do for your portfolio? That will be a 10% return on your portfolio. That's not worth mentioning even. And that is the best case scenario if indeed Tesla doubles. So you're at 70% cash. That's just irresponsible. Like you can't sell your total crypto position because you think the market will correct. That's like playing with fire. And when you play with fire, you will get burned. So yeah, you should prepare to be burned. Because yeah, I think the chance is very high crypto will correct, and I give that 66% chance that we reach 4K. That means there is 33% left that we don't go there and we go up from here. In your case, you will totally miss out on the crypto rally, because usually when it goes up against your expectation, and if you bet big on it, what will your response be? You will say, let's wait a bit longer because it will likely go down. And then it goes up more, and you say, no, I'm certainly not going to buy back in because I would have lost so much. Like I have so many less coins than when I sold, so I'm not going to do that, and it probably will correct. And it just doesn't happen. And then it starts to correct, and you think, okay, it started, but it corrects much less than you expected them. So you basically lose an amazing opportunity, and that's really not responsible. You should never make such big moves in your portfolio. That's doomed to really to cost you a lot in either losses or missed opportunities sooner or later. So I would recommend to reverse that and buy back half of the crypto that you sold, and work in smaller steps in the future. Also, I would strongly suggest to sell the 20% gold and silver miners. It's really like a total waste of money and opportunity. There is really no money to be made by mining silver and gold over the next 10 to 20 years. The gold shows you see on TV are there because gold is still valued relatively high. That's why there are gold shows, and that's why people that are amateurs can make money mining gold, and that will all go away as the bear market continues. But the professional players will also have a very hard time. Even the biggest players, the biggest miners and the best run miners, even though they are able to consolidate strong and become a lot bigger by buying up a lot of miners that go broke and their assets for cents on the dollars, they still will go down a lot in market value, likely, unless you are a real expert in gold and mining, gold and silver miners. Then you can, of course, even in a bear market, flip between different opportunities and still make money. But you were 50% in crypto, that means you're not an expert in that, and you should stay away from any assets that are very likely in a long-term bear market. So I hope that was helpful, Ali Khan. Hi, Alexander Baptiste. Let me read the questions quiet, because I will lose my voice, and also have to look at the Twitter portfolios. I will do that first. Another one. Will Club, 30% Tesla, 30% Zcash, 5% stocks. Yeah, we don't have to go through 5% investments because they don't make a difference. So yes, also 30% cash. So yes, 30% Tesla, 30% crypto, and 30% cash. Okay, 30% cash, I think, is a great allocation. And the first one that I see as a high allocation to Tesla, I have 50%. I think it's totally justified here because, yes, we're at fair value here. Tesla just went up a lot from $200 to $900 the past 6 months. But typically, you reach serious undervaluation, you go to fair valuation. But typically, that doesn't stop there. You go into serious overvaluation. And the trend, of course, is extremely strong here. So it's very likely that will be the moneymaker there. Then he also has 30% crypto, but it's all in Zcash. And I don't think that's a good move, even though indeed Zcash has corrected tremendously. That's the worst crypto investment, one of the worst you could have done. That's also a very big red flag. Yes, it's extremely cheap, but it has lost a lot of ranking, also market cap ranking. Used to be well, in the top 10. It's not anymore. What is it now? SEC. Let me check. SEC. It's 26, so it lost ranking, number 26. But I think that the problem with ZAC is too small of a project. It doesn't have a widespread community, and I've learned a lot actually with the whole debacle in Bitcoin Cash, where they actually wanted to implement the Zcash business model of basically having a piece of the block reward, a piece of the inflation goes to the development team to pay for expenses. But I've come to realize it's not the right model, and the market proves it. I really thought it was the right model 3 years ago, and that's why I invested in Decred for a while. I made very good returns there because I invested in it early 2017 when nobody knew about it, but I also sold it off then because I really discovered in Decred that yes, you have this, like in Dash also, a piece of the inflation goes to pay for the expenses, but it really creates a very centralized organization. The same in Zcash, where actually a few people call the shots and everybody wants a piece of that money. And so, yeah, you get this DAO where people can vote on different projects, but a lot of the monies are bad investments because, well, a lot of the people, I have many people that they don't really create value, but they are very good at selling stories and getting monies, but they don't really create value. And that's really even true for the lead developers and all the lead guys. And also the crypto bull markets, they are, yeah, you can make tons of money, but it also creates a very lazy mentality, because these guys, they make loads of money, just a piece of the inflation that goes automatically to your pockets is lots of money, and everybody does well. Even if it's totally mismanaged your project, it will do 100x in valuation. That means also 100x of your income. And I just, But look at the adoption. Who's using Zcash? Who's using Decred? Who's using um, these projects Dash? It's very small, and the adoption is very, very bad in all these projects. So I think this is a very risky investment, Zcash. And of course, if the bull market will go up a lot, but it will continue to lose market ranking. Very likely. Also in Zcash, like they started with a 4-year period where they would get a piece of the inflation, but after that it was supposed to stop. But what did they do? Well, they extended it. So yeah, yeah. I don't think you're sitting on a winner there. I think past performance is the best indicator of future performance. The past performance of Zcash has been very bad, and I think it's for a reason. Yes, the lead guy I forgot his name, but he's very sympathetic. He's not a bully, no. He's a bright guy, Zuku. But you need a lot more than a bright guy to have a super successful project. You need to really inspire many people, attract many people to your project, and I don't really see that with Zcash. So I don't think you sit on a winner there, and I think you should flip it for other crypto projects. I think Ethereum and a Bitcoin Cash do clearly a lot better than Zcash, for example. Let's check some other things. One moment, I have a call here. I have to check quickly. Okay. Let's take a look. I hope that was helpful, Whale Club. 30% cash is a big position. So what you could do also, of course, is keep your Zcash but I really hope you invest in other coins also if you get the opportunity. If we get a big correction, I think you won't regret that in 2 years, 3 years time. Let's take a look at the chat here. So, hi guys, hi, welcome to the live show here. Alexander Baptiste, LA Matt Witch. So yes, I'm 50% Tesla, and I'm 10% cash. I did sell 20% of my Tesla because I was 60% Tesla and minus 10% cash. And so the first thing I did was I went from 60 to 50% Tesla, and I paid off the minus 10% cash, and I was at 0% cash and 50% Tesla after the transaction. So I did that for the crypto. For the coronavirus. I'm a little bit afraid there that we get a serious that it becomes much worse and it affects the markets. And that's why I really didn't want to be at the minus 10% cash position. So I went from minus 10% to 0% by selling some Tesla. And then I also sold some crypto. I went there from about 50% crypto to 40% crypto. And I got 10% cash from there also. And so now I have 10% cash, which I think is a better situation for now. Will you get a new Lambo? I would love to buy a new Lambo, but here in Africa, I can't really do that because the roads are not good enough. But I hope in the future, when I live in other places too, that I can buy a beautiful Lamborghini Huracan Spider Performante. That's my dream car. He says I'm his favorite YouTuber. Thank you so much, LA Matt, or one of them. I really appreciate it. LA Matt asks, is Roger Ver mature enough to lead BCH? Well, I think Roger Ver made a mistake here with this proposal, this infrastructure fund proposal. He was supportive of that in the beginning, but that was really wrong and disappointing. The same for Jihan Wu. But he came back from it quickly. So I think Roger Ver is a very valuable person. He's the best marketeer you can have for crypto, and he creates a lot of value by really understanding you have to sell something in a simple way. He's also very ideologically driven, which is super important because that really makes you hold on to your investment, your coin, and really continue to fight for it, which is really shared strongly among the Bitcoin Cash community. Um, but I think he lost some status here. But he's still very highly ranked and offers tremendous value at Bitcoin.com. It's just like a beast when it comes to marketing Bitcoin Cash and adds a lot of value with the different projects like the mobile wallet they offer with Bitcoin.com. Very valuable. Like the Bitcoin.com mobile wallet works tremendously well. And also they have the local.bitcoin.com, very important. People can sell and buy Bitcoin Cash locally, even here in Kenya. It's a very good platform. So he does a lot. He adds a lot of value to Bitcoin Cash. Purse.io, he's also promoting a lot, which is also very valuable for a service that you can use with Bitcoin Cash to buy on Amazon with discounts. So yeah, great. I think super valuable person. And a legend, huh? A legend. Huh? I mean, yeah, he's there from the very early days and continues to go very hard. And also not afraid of to be controversial. It's very important. He doesn't care about the opinion of the masses. He does what he thinks believes is best, and that's very important. You really have to do that to be successful in anything. But let's see what else we have. Okay, let's do another portfolio that was shared on Twitter. Next is crypto. He also has Zcash, 80% of his portfolio, Decred 10%, and Bitcoin Cash 10%. So I assume that's 100% crypto. I would really put some cash on the side here to try to buy the correction if it comes. But especially Zcash 80%, I really don't think is justified. It's way too high of an exposure to Zcash. I would really build it down for Bitcoin Cash, but not for Decred. And also Ethereum, I think, is a good investment. But there are many other coins, of course. Like I can't, like Tezos, for example, might be a great investment, but it did go up a lot already. It increased a lot in market rank. The challenge is to find coins that have great fundamentals, are lowly ranked in the market cap, and have a very good chance to go up a lot in market ranking. Those are the best investments, and that's not the case for Zcash, I think, or for Decred. No. But I'm sure there are many coins that do have that option. Huh? Ricardo Costa. He says that he has 70% in real estate, 20% in fiat, and 10% in crypto. So, but I think he asked a question also. He says, I desperately want to reach 20% crypto. Maybe I can loan against my real estate. But so his real estate is just the house he lives in. That's 70% of his portfolio. But he says that the payments on his mortgage are 40% lower than if he would rent the same place. So it makes sense for him to keep it. But yeah, that means your mortgage is relatively low, and that means you can borrow more money against your house. And I would certainly recommend to do that. At least that's what I would do. I cannot give financial advice in certain countries. That's actually illegal. When you say I would recommend to do this or that, they can put you in jail for that. That's the world we live in. There is no freedom of speech. So that's why you have to say these disclaimers that actually it's not something I would advise, but it's something like what I would do. And indeed, what I would do is if you don't like, I would sell the house and I would rent. Because because I want to make like because you need the money to invest, and if you look at the returns of your real estate, it's much lower than the returns you can have, for example, in crypto. It makes no financial sense to have real estate in your portfolio if you are a good investor. Yes, of course you can invest in real estate and buy low, sell high in depressed areas, use a lot of leverage, mortgages, but then you're really an investor, and of course do a lot of how do you call it, house flipping, and also renovations. You can make much money with buying in depressed areas, renovating, selling for a nice profit quite quickly, or holding on for 5 to 10 years when the neighborhood pumps up and is more trendy, and then sell. Like, yes, but that's being a real estate investor and know the ins and outs and build good relationships with bankers. And yes, you can make lots of money there also because you can use a lot of leverage. But that's not the case here. It's just your own house. The returns on it are very, very low if you make your calculation. Yes, the mortgage is a lot less expensive than the rent, but you shouldn't count like that. You should look at, okay, what's my portfolio value? And that's your house is 70%. Okay, that's your assets. And yeah, if I want higher returns, how do I have to invest my money? And it's much better to pay, for example, double in rent and have your capital free to invest in things that don't return. Because what's the return of your own house? Maybe it's 5%, maybe it's 10% maximum. Okay, you sell the house and you invest it in the markets. What's your return? Well, it's likely, if you're a good investor, going to be 20%. But what's the difference between having a 10% return and 20%? Is it double as much? No, because you have 5% inflation. So you think you have 10% return on your own house, but actually 5% is inflation. So you only have 5% return. And then you have to deduct all the work you put in your own house too, right? Because that's work. If you rent, you don't have to do anything to your house. But if it's your own house, you're renovating all the time, or doing work all the time. Small jobs maybe, but it is work. And putting more capital in to upgrade the kitchen or upgrade that, and so you have to deduct all these things. And what is your real return then? 10%, okay, 5% inflation, 5% left, and then you have the maintenance, just 2% per year left, 3% return left. Okay, so that's the return, 3%. So let's say you invested in the markets, you have 20% return. What's your real return then? Well, you also have 5% inflation, so that's 15% left. So that's 3% versus 15%. What's the difference? Well, you make 5 times more money by selling your house and investing it wisely in the markets, buying low, selling high. So you should sell it. That's the best solution. The second best solution is, if you really don't want to sell it, take a big mortgage against it at a low interest rate. You can do that these days. It's nice. Lock the low interest rate, because interest rates are likely going to go up. So maybe get 2% or 3%. Lock it for the whole duration, and use that money to invest in the markets. And very likely you will have much higher returns. Of course, you need a track record that you are a good investor. If you're not a good investor yet and you buy high, sell low, don't do that. But if you have proven to yourself in the past that you are really actually a good investor, you do make real good money in the markets. You're not allowing yourself to be to respond emotionally when prices go down a lot. You don't do anything, you don't buy, you freeze up, you don't, you even sell sometimes after prices went down a lot, or after price went up a lot, you end up like not selling, but you end up buying more. Like, if you still make those mistakes, don't do it. But if you are on top of it, yes, I would take a mortgage against it if you really don't want to sell the house. That's the best advice I can give. Let's take a look at the chat. I hope you're all doing well. 60 viewers, we doubled up. Hi, all. Welcome to the Master Investor Live Show. Here we are trying to improve our returns by rearranging our portfolios. Let's take a look at the comments here. Hey, Jacob Mikael. Guillermo Mono has 50% in BSV, Bitcoin SV, 30% in gold, 20% in cash. And then he says, my company aside. That's very good that he says that, because you also, if possible, include that. It's very good to include everything in your portfolio that is of value, especially if it's of big value. It's very good to put that in, because only when you put it in your portfolio, you really start to think clearly about it. Let's say this company is only 10% of a portfolio. Okay, then it's not so important to include it. But let's say it's as valuable as his portfolio. Let's say it's like actually 100% of his portfolio. That means that he says he has BSV for 50%, but actually that's only 25% if his company is as valuable as his portfolio. So if you can, try to include that in your calculations, because a company is just an asset also, even if it's your company, even if it gives you a job, even if it gives you a social life, it's still also an asset, and just an asset that you can also decide to sell or to invest more in, and that's why it's good to put it in your portfolio. My battery is draining. 20% left. So but yeah, BSV, I am not a fan at all. So that's half of his portfolio. 30% gold, 20% cash is not what I would do with my portfolio, except for the cash. I think that's wise to have cash here. But Bitcoin SV, I think, is really not a good investment. Yes, I understand that they have some things right, like they really want to scale very aggressively on chain, and so you can do a lot more transactions on Bitcoin SV, for example, than on Bitcoin Cash today. But there is no market demand for it, so it has no value. It's like, hey, I'm making a car that can drive 1,000 kilometers an hour. Yeah, that's great, but who's gonna like drive 1,000 kilometers an hour? Who's willing to like also pay a very high price to drive 1,000 kilometers an hour? Because they do pay a very high price for that, because they allow so many transactions on chain. They have a lot of technical issues with that. You can like fuck up the system easily and overload it. And also, like, that needs to be their primary focus then, and they can't focus on other innovations, such as, for example, assets on the blockchain is important. Bitcoin Cash implemented that as LP tokens, but Bitcoin SV not. They want to freeze the development, and that's what they do. They did no innovations, and everything is focused on that one aspect of being very scalable. So it's like building a car that can do 1,000 kilometers an hour, but they don't spend any attention to, for example, safety or comfort of the car, or that's going to be a very small market. And it's just not the right trade-offs if you want to become a successful car company. But the same for a cryptocurrency. You really need to look at what the market needs and build around that, and that's really totally absent in Bitcoin SV. So and of course, other very big red flags, it's led by people who have proven to be liars, who have proven to use the state to attack other people, to start court cases, to threaten people with violence, to not say this or not do that. It's just immoral behavior. That's not in a free market how you are going to make build a successful cryptocurrency. So I really don't support this investment, and so having a 50% exposure to it, I believe over time will prove to be the wrong decision, and it will just show in market ranking. Over time the market ranking will go down more and more, and today it's still valued very high. In my opinion, it's like it's sixth position right after Bitcoin Cash, much higher than I would have expected. Actually, I've been wrong about Bitcoin SV. I predicted at the time it would like go down a lot quicker in market ranking, and it hasn't. So I could be wrong, and I am very biased because I invest in the direct competitor Bitcoin Cash. But I really strongly believe that it's not the right investment, and so I should share that. And gold, I went into that 30% gold position. I don't think is the right thing to do. I hope it was of value, Guillermo. Yes, about crypto, I have one pinned video on my YouTube channel, not on Twitter, but YouTube. You should watch that. I just watched it myself again. I'm the biggest fan of my own videos because I do have learned over time I should listen better to my own advice, and I do that. And I rewatched that video, why crypto is still bearish, and you should too, because it makes the best case why crypto is still bearish and likely to retest the bottom of 4K for Bitcoin Core and 120 billion for the total market cap. That's a long way from here. Let me look at another portfolio on Twitter. Yeah, I'm not going to do portfolios that look similar to the portfolios I have discussed. So Blanca Flores, I'm gonna skip yours, but I discussed portfolios like yours a lot in this channel or in this episode already. Yeah, the same for DL, his portfolio, but he should also share. Like it's a bit of a, it's just way too much. Like you really should not invest. If you want to make money, you should not be diversified. You should have a few great investments. That's how you should do that. And he says like, yeah, in crypto I have 40% BTC, and I have 40% large alts and 20% small alts. So it's probably like 10, 20 coins in his portfolio. How can you be on top of, like, know what's happening in your own investments? How can you follow 20 coins and know what's going on? You can't. For me, one coin takes like half my time already. Bitcoin Cash, I don't even have time to invest to study the second coin I'm invested in, Ethereum. Like I know maybe 5% of what's happening in Ethereum world. How can you be invested in 10 or 20 coins? That's really not the right approach. You have to know that in crypto, when you're in a bull market, everything goes up. But some gain a lot in market ranking, others lose a lot in market ranking. And if you are diversified over a lot of coins, what will happen with your portfolio? Well, I mean, yeah, you will just go up with crypto. So you can as well just buy an index fund and call it a day. But yeah, I mean, be careful with that, because the top 10, for example, if you do an index fund of crypto, the top 10 performs a lot better than the top 100. When you went through the bull and bear cycle, people are not aware of that, but actually the best performing coins are the top 10 coins, not the top 100 coins and not the top 1,000 coins. Because the top 1,000 coins, yeah, in a bull market they go up a lot more, but in a bear market go down a lot more. And so from start till finish, actually the smaller coins are the worst investment. So index investing, no, it's not it's just not a great idea, except when you really stick to it, and that's very difficult, sticking to index investing. But if you use funds that are managed by other people, okay, it's much easier to stick to it. But if you follow my channel, it means that you are busy studying cryptos, and you are much more in touch with the fundamentals, and then you can make much better selections. Because if you do an index of cryptos, it's so obvious some of these coins are just poorly managed, like they have no future, but you invest in them. Like that's just a lot of lost opportunity there. You don't have to do that. You can't just say always, like, you just say no the moment it doesn't look good. No, 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 no. And then a few selections will, like, you just don't have the nose, the red flags are not there. You invest in those, and that will give you a much higher return, and you do something much more useful with your capital. Because as an investor, you have a mission there. You have to, like, help people with your capital. But which people? The people that are arrogant, the people that are lazy, you want to support them. Okay, you go ahead with an index fund, you do plenty of that, and you will lose a lot of money to those people, the people that are selling stories but not delivering. So if, like, you really want your capital to do something useful, so invest in the people or in the projects that are really doing a great job. And if you do that, then your performance will be a lot better too, and you also do something really useful. So that's for DL. Same in the stock portfolio, a lot of even commodities and stuff. You should watch my channel, more DL. But I know you've been doing that, but still you're invested in gold mining and uranium and tungsten, lithium, copper mines. Like, what the hell? Commodity companies, like, that's the worst investment you can have. So you really don't understand why commodities are in a bear market, and in a long-term bear market. You should really understand that, because it will become very costly if you don't understand that. So let's take a look at the comments in the live show. Hi all, welcome to the live show. We're 1 hour in, and the battery is at 16%. Um, uh, mhm. Let's see what else we have. Oops. Just chat updated here. I missed some comments. Let me check. Lots of comments here, guys. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. But let me see if I can get through it. Um, hmm. um, uh, that's a lot of comments. I can't get through all that. Let me try to pick out some interesting ones. Yeah, what's your language, LA Matt? Bitcoin Cash. Did you mind with your PC? Yeah, I'm sorry. Um, message retracted. Ay, sorry, I can't see interesting comments here in the chat. I mean, interesting, but not to share. Mm, Hmm. Yeah, LA Matt says that Ethereum is way too technical and the gas to send coins is just weird. I agree with that. It's weird indeed. Huh? But yeah, and even the applications, like, yeah, in Ethereum there's like 1 billion of assets locked. The Ethereum bulls, they say that's really bullish. Of course, that's really great. But then I'm looking at, okay, what's the opportunity here? Can I do this myself? And it's just very complicated how all that works. You can lock your Ethereum and get interest with DAI, but for me, it's very complicated. So I certainly agree with that. It's all very complicated. When can we get a Trollo update? Soon. I'm working on it, guys. Stay tuned because it's super important. And I'm working with Benjamin, who has a crypto channel. Also, he's helping me create a new chart because yeah, Trollo is gone. And I can't get chart from him anymore. But I'm busy with it. It will be very soon. But right now we're still undervalued compared to the Trollo chart in crypto. So it's very dangerous to sell crypto, even though it's likely to correct. We're still seriously undervalued also. And so to sell crypto is a dangerous thing to do here. You have to be very careful with that. I sold 25% of my crypto, but I still have 40% left of my portfolio invested in crypto. And that's for good reason also. Mark, do you do private consulting? No, I don't do that. Day 3 Barbary, who's following my channel for a long time, says that commodities are very undervalued at the moment. I mean, the next stock collapse happens, they're gonna be up nicely. I strongly disagree with that, my friend. Commodities are not seriously undervalued. They are overvalued. They will go down a lot. Yes, I speak Dutch. That's why my English accent, is a bit Germanic. Harvey Williams asks a great question that I've never had before. And good for a master investor since we're all investors. But Harvey Williams asks any advice how to tell people what you do as an investor. People don't seem to understand what we do at all. And I've also struggled with that at the time because a lot of pressure from family and friends, like, yeah, what is it that you do? Like, shouldn't you be looking for like a job and have a job, and you're just, yeah, sitting at home and being lazy, and and it influenced me. But yeah, I was investing, and that's in the early days a lot of reading. It continues to be a lot of reading, but yeah, people don't see you work and sweat, but you are working with your mind a lot, and that's also very intensive. But people don't value it, and so they talk down on it, and they want you to see you do something else. So you should not bend, and you should defend your activity, because you chose it for good reason. Because, well, as me, probably you realize it's really how I really you love doing it, and you want to make money that way, and yeah, it's a great thing to do. So, but typically people only recognize it when you are already successful. Then they will respect whatever you have to say. But if you're not clearly successful yet, they will try to, like, give their stupid opinions what you should do with your life, and you should just ignore that, and you should become assertive and self confident, and talk that way also to people. And so most people, if they ask what you're doing, you say, I invest, for example, in Bitcoin. Do you know Bitcoin? And you do your sales story, you sell them Bitcoin. I mean, That's what you're doing. Like if they invest in it, also it will go up and you will make money. So you sell the investments that you believe in. And yeah, many people like that also. So instead of going on the defense, you go on the offense. You don't defend what you're doing. You you ask them what they are doing. As a return, you tell them you should do this. And if they heed your advice, you move on. So that's my advice on that. Um, uh, um, let's see what else we have. Let me see if I can find another portfolio that was shared on Twitter. Hmm. Yeah, so you have Final X, Final 15 says that is Ethereum 60% and other alts 35%. So it's 100% crypto. So I discussed that already. Yeah? And he asked the right question. How probable do you think that we retrace back to 230 billion? And I answered him 75% probability. I think we will go there before continuing to go up. But now at 300 billion or 280 billion. So yeah, 230 billion is very close to current prices. I think actually like 66% we go to 120 billion or 100. Like that's a very high probability I give that that we will go down a lot on crypto before continuing to go up. And the reason is simply because of growth rates going down over time. That's the main argument. And so we go to 4K for Bitcoin. That's not a new bear. That's not a bear market. It's just setting a higher high, testing the bottom, but still setting a higher low. Sorry, and that's only probable. Okay. I think I've almost got all the portfolios from Twitter. Um, so Sheki Undercover says that he has 50% in BTC, but also BCH. So that's very important. Like he puts that under one category, but it's going to make a huge difference whether you invest in Bitcoin Core or Bitcoin Cash when it comes to returns. The risk reward also right now is a lot better for something like Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Core. So you should really specify how much is in each to allow me to give my opinion on your portfolio. But okay, 50% crypto, he says, 20% physical gold, and also 15% crypto mining, and also 15% real estate. So the 15%, 15% crypto mining, I think is interesting. I don't know anything about it, but I think in general, crypto mining is very good to invest in at the top of the bull market, but not at the bottom of the bear market. Because at the bottom of the bear market and the early bull market, crypto coins will go up a lot more in value than crypto mining operations. But the nice thing about crypto mining operations is at the top of the bull market, they go down a lot less in value than the crypto coins. They really tumble through the floor. But crypto mining operations, not. They are much more stable investment. But when should you, if you invest in stable investments in the crypto market? Well, at the top of the market, then you should flip to stable investments, but not at the bottom. Then you should flip to the volatile investments. And crypto coins are, a lot better investments at this stage of the market. But okay, he has 50% in crypto coins and only 15% in crypto mining. So I think it's fair, good portfolio. Sheki, undercover. Voila, we got all the portfolios from Twitter. Let's take another look at the chat here and then we'll close it down. So crypto media is 20% in Ethereum and 80% in cash. So he hopes that we will correct to 8K and maybe 5K. But he says, yes, I'm investing very risky here, being 80% in cash. So I think he understands the risks he takes, and that it's not wise to be totally only 20% in crypto if that's your focus. He's really trying to play the market and increasing his returns by moving a lot of his investments. But yeah, I think that yeah, it's a good idea to do these shifts in portfolio slower than what he's doing. But yeah, he still has 20% Ethereum. But yeah, it can work out very well if indeed the market of crypto corrects a lot. Why don't you mention Tezos? Because I don't know anything about it. Are you contrarian? Yes, I am. Uh, so Isabel, hi, nice to see you. One of the few girls following my channel. She says, "Hey, Mark, what do you think the likelihood of the stock market correcting due to coronavirus? And if it corrects, how substantial will it be?" Well, I personally had a little bit of a shock effect when I studied coronavirus, and maybe the same will happen with the market when they like when they suddenly realize it's something serious. It may correct, but not so much because we're in a bull market for stocks. So maybe 20%, 30% tops. Huh? In a bull market, corrections are not 50%. Huh? That's in bear markets, stock bear markets. We are in a bull market, so yeah, 20%. That's not a much. Huh? Even if that happens, like without the coronavirus, I think actually very like to go up the next few years a lot, the stock market. Of course, this may be a black swan indeed that puts a bumper in it. But I only have like 10% cash. Like I'm 90% invested in markets to go up, not down, huh? And only 10% invested in the bet that markets go down. That's a very small investment I take here because typically markets stretch much further than you expect, and that goes both ways. Like the coronavirus, yes, it's very concerning, I think, but the market will be very slow to really like realize that. And so in the meantime, markets can go up a lot more, especially stock market is very bullish now. So I think for me it was really painful to sell a piece of my Tesla to have no margin, because it meant I have to sell again 20% of my Tesla. Okay, I'm still at 50% Tesla, but it's very likely Tesla goes up a lot, and actually past week went from 750 to 900 again, and very likely will go 1,500 next few months, and very likely in that time frame the coronavirus will not lead to a panic, and so very likely I will have missed opportunity. But that's the price you need to pay to protect yourself. You always have missed opportunity if you hedge your bets, if you also bet a small part of your portfolio on the unlikely scenario that will happen, that usually doesn't pay off, but sometimes it pays off very big. Like let's say it does happen, the coronavirus panic the coming month, while that 10% cash may become like 30% cash or 40%, just because the rest goes down so much. Crypto may go down a lot, stocks may correct too, and so that 10% cash may become like 30% cash, and then you have something to buy with. Because if you have no cash, well, you only have losses and you can't buy anything on the cheap. So that 10% cash can become very, very valuable if indeed markets correct, but much more likely it's going to be a loss of opportunity. But that's not such a disaster, because later on you can then use that cash to buy other opportunities. Huh? So I think that's the right way to invest, Isabel. Thanks for asking. But you ask about probabilities. I think, yeah, low probability, but it's good to also protect yourself against that. Let's see what other questions we have. Hi Ryan Giffen, nice to see you. He also has a channel, YouTube channel. I think my battery is coming to an end, 8%. LA Matt asks, Marks, what are your thoughts on growing cannabis and selling on the dark net? LA Matt, uh, well, I think that's a very risky career path to take that I would not take myself. Of course, I mean, you're only growing plants that are giving great pleasure and or valuable medicines for some people. Nothing morally wrong there, in my opinion. But yeah, many of the things, activities are outlawed by many governments and illegal, and they think it's justified to attack you with violence if you do that and ruin not only your livelihood but also your life. And so that's very risky to be active in these activities. I really would not recommend to do that. No. Of course, sometimes you have to do these kind of things if you come from very far, but then you have to be very, very smart about it because, yeah, these people can ruin your life. Huh? Um, yeah, I think I'm gonna have to end it, guys. With 1 hour and a half in. I don't think I can get through the whole chat. But LA Matt, you should not be repeating questions. Harvey Williams asks, do you think holding 100% in Bitcoin Cash is a good idea, especially if there is an impending inevitable fork? No, I don't think that's a good idea. 100% Bitcoin Cash, not now. But and never going all in. Even though I promoted that for a while, I never pulled the trigger. I don't think that's the right investment strategy. Because yeah, you really have to, like, yes, high returns, super important to achieve high returns, but also by taking moderate risk, by not betting the farm. That's being wise, because you sometimes, and it may be very rare, maybe once every 10 or maybe only once in your life, you'll be very wrong. And so if you bet the farm, you lose the farm. But if you bet like 80%, you only lose 80%, and you have 20% left to play another day, the odds. And even if you like only invest big when the odds are big in your favor, then still very rarely, but it will happen, it will not pan out and you will lose a lot. So you really need to have that small thing on the side always to be able to invest again in the future. Even when you like are very very unlucky, you have to take that into account. So you should never go 100% in anything, in my opinion, as an investor. Of course, as an entrepreneur, you can do that. Like Elon Musk, for example, he does that, but he did invest in two companies, not just one, where he went all in. But like, yeah, you can do that, but as not, but yeah, you should then also quickly like take money out. For example, yeah, 100% Bitcoin Cash now, no. But let's say we get a very strong correction, and then we get the fork, and we get the split into two coins. And it's like a total drama. We're at $50 a coin. Then maybe you can like indeed go 100% for a short while, see it bounce up, and then take out some gains, and lock in those profits into secure assets. So in case that it goes really wrong again and down to zero, that you do have something. That's my opinion on that. My computer will die, guys. I'm gonna have to end it. I can't do all the chat. That's good news. Oh yes, I did the whole chat. On my YouTube channel, I get so many comments these days. I'm so happy with that. My YouTube channel is really growing, not so much in amount of viewers, slowly. Twitter also slowly, followers growing, but in amount of like interactions really going up a lot. So I really appreciate that, guys. Thank you so much. Oh no, I'm not through the chat. No. Oh, almost. Crypto medias are some good questions. How do you follow your investments? What tools and resources do you use? How do you stay up to date? And how does your usual day look like? A spreadsheet is super important to keep track of your investments and see how big of a percentage they are in your portfolio, and to plan to like invest. Like I really use the like how much percent I'm investing in each, and then like change it based on the percentage. For example, compared to like how much money you have in investment or how much coins you have of something, it's really not of importance. You should look at the percentage you have of your portfolio invested in each, and then like change the percentage allocations based on the risk rewards that are changing. That's really how I do it, because it makes you less emotional and more rational. If you look at, oh, I have so many coins, I have so much money in something, it really pulls your emotions into it, and you become much quicker a hodler of, for example, or in a real estate, how many houses you have, or in stocks, how many stocks you have of a certain company, of how much percent you own in a certain company is actually of no importance. What matters is how big is your investment in your portfolio. And if something goes up a lot, it will become a very high percentage of your portfolio, and that needs to be your focus, because that's your risk. And you should pull that down. And it doesn't matter how many stocks you need to sell, or how many houses or many coins you need to sell to pull it down, but you need to pull it down. And inversely, when it's really going down a lot and you need to buy, you need to pull up your percentage allocation. So spreadsheet super important, and for the rest, that's it. So that's where a lot of my activity goes in. My usually day is, well, I'm a father, and I have two girls with two babies, so more and more family time I'm spending. But I'm also a workaholic. I work a lot, and I read a lot, and I think a lot, and keep it simple. Like keep things simple. Like my portfolio, I always like keep things simple, or my households, like very few products in the house, very few furniture in your portfolio, very few investments. Um, uh, okay, with girls, I've been on an expanding area, but only I have two girls left, like, and it's already a lot of management. Certain things, yeah. generally you have to keep things simple, and it's a lot more work to like keep things simple. It's very easy to take in a lot, but it just complicates things, and your performance goes down a lot. So cutting out is much of my activity also, and saying no. I study a lot. I get a lot of investment proposals, and sometimes it's really difficult to say no, but it's the right thing to say no most of the time. But it takes a lot of time to say no, but it's very important. Um, Thanks all for joining the show. I'm gonna end it with this, and I wish you all good luck with your investments, and I hope that you're able to approach it rationally, and that you always are able to look at the other side also. What if asking yourself, but what if I'm wrong, or what if this happens, or what if that happens? What will happen with my portfolio, and will I be okay, and what will I do then? Super important. So thanks all for joining, and I wish you all a great day.